Hello everyone! Today I'm playing Islanders, and it was a bit of a long day at work, so I think what I'm going to do is use this time to just blabber into the void, as I tend to do. But, before that, let's talk about Islanders. It's a fun little game. You build it's a minimalist city building game. So, in reality, there's no resource management, there's no people, there's nothing like that. It's just hang out and build a quaint little town. Now, given that it was just Halloween, we have this setting here called Buildings Aspect. I'm going to change it from original to, they have Christmas, Easter, Summer, Valentine's Day, and Halloween. And we're going to go with Halloween. And because I don't enjoy the darkness of the day and night, I think I'm going to put us in a perpetual, maybe right here. And no, maybe a little bit lighter. Yeah, kind of like this. If you hear my cat meowing in the back, please forgive. He's a bit of a vocal guy, and he's missed me. I guess that's a nice way to put it. I just gave up on a previous run here. So let's get started. So this game, there isn't much to it. I probably won't spend too much time explaining. It pretty much explains itself as you watch. So I wanted to talk today actually about stuff that's happening at my school. So this is my first time, I guess you could say, being a full job, like a full-time teacher. I've been a part-time teacher for very many years, doing tutoring and working as a substitute teacher while I earned my degree. And so this is my first time gig. And so I chose a place that I could get a decent amount of money for the experience that I had, which, in the education world, frankly, is not that much. And it's fine. It's nice. It's pretty laid back. There isn't a ton. You probably just heard him there, little guy. There isn't like a ton going on. It's relatively simple, but I don't know. It has its problems and its annoyances. And it's kind of crazy in my time that I've been here so far that I have come to find that a lot of what teachers, for lack of a better word, complain about is practically universal. It just feels so true. No matter where I go, no matter where one goes, I should say, just the general stuff of the kids are everything. It's amazing. I love working with the kids. I love the feeling of helping young minds learn and connecting with them and forming a strong relationship with them. Obviously teacher-student relationship. I don't want anyone thinking that way, because while that does exist, it certainly doesn't exist for me. But anyway, the school I'm at is a kindergarten, and so it has kids from essentially preschool to the typical kindergarten age. And because it's a private school, it heavily depends on funding from the parents, right? From having prospective buyers. And so it faces that, I guess you could call, condition or difficulty, I don't know what you want to call it, when taking decisions into account. And so at my school, there are a few of us who are Not a few of us. There's a group of us, right, that are foreign teachers. So this school is in China, by the way. I probably should have specified that up front. And you know, if you have any judgments of that, you can feel free to let me know. You know, I'm not like a simp for China, but I'm also not a hater. It's a nuanced place with nuanced people and practices, right? But we have this problem where we have some teachers that have come in from Korea, and I'm assuming they're expecting different standards from the school that the school isn't providing. Because, frankly speaking, it's... the school's rough around the edges. And, not that it's particularly, like, bad or something, but it's a for-profit, I could put one here and get 18. Let's do it. It's a for-profit, quote-unquote multilingual, quote-unquote international school. It's not international. It is aimed at, I guess, developing skills for these very young children that would help them on the international stage in their far future, which is a huge thing. In China, parents are always looking to ensure the best for their kids from incredibly young ages. And anyway, you know, there I go off on a tangent. But so anyway, the school is fine. For me, it's good as a starter school. It's definitely not somewhere I want to stay forever, but it's nice. But not for these teachers that I had previously mentioned. They came from Korea, and between them, you know, each of them has like 7 or 8 years of experience. And they're frankly fantastic teachers. But the school, to them, and frankly to me, has this problem of like really poor management. Management is pretty incompetent, and it's incompetent to the point where we don't like have a stable curriculum, and that any curriculum we do have is very much, I don't know, how should I put it, it's bare bones, right? Like, granted, my students are like 3 to 4 years old. We're still only given 3 letters of the alphabet to teach in 1 month, and then a small set of vocabulary words to go alongside that each month, which is just shockingly small, right? And like very, very much disappointingly so. And so it's really a means of, you got to figure out how to squeeze all that in. And then they're really inconsistent, right? Or they get ideas from watching like things on social media. For example, this next month coming up, we have a little, I guess you could call it a speech contest, right? Where we have to prep the kids to make a speech. And we're talking about 3-year-old kids here, by the way. If that's not ridiculous enough, we're talking about 3-year-old kids here. And this speech has to talk about, oh, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I like blah, blah, blah. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters, blah, 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 right? Stuff like this. It's not that my kids can't do it, but it's quite a lot to ask. Especially when we're given all of these other things that we have to do, we must do, with very little time in the week to actually do it. You know, on top of classes being pretty short and constantly interrupted, it's quite difficult. But what really makes it difficult is that there isn't any guidance, right? How this started was the management or the admin, they said, we want to do a speech contest, do it. And this led to all of us foreign teachers being, okay, like, what do you want specifically? Like, when's it going to happen? What's it going to be? You know, what kind of speech are we looking for? Is it going to be only at the school? Is it going to go elsewhere? And they're just like, oh, just prep your kids. Just make them a speech and have them all prepare it. My average day is getting kids of different levels of English to just repeat words and sentences. So having them do a full speech and having every kid and then doing a process of elimination to find the best, when I already know who the best are and I already know who could do it, and I have limited time to prep, it's a nightmare, right? But they do this all the time. This is like their prerogative, right? They just have no clue the amount of work that goes into prepping something like this. And even more importantly, they don't give us any guidance. It's just do it. And so these teachers that I still haven't told the story of, with all that experience, they are used to schools that don't do this, right? And they're used to having a little bit of guidance, a little bit of help, and oh, that was a bit crazy. And having clear standards, strong, well-developed curriculum, and not being told things to do last minute with zero planning, right? And so we, as a group of foreign teachers, came shockingly close to what I would call like nearly a unionizing moment. Now in China, there is zero chance that you could get away with unionizing, especially as foreigners. In China, there is one union. There's one union, and it's a part of the central government, right? So it's not very good, to say the least. It's not a good situation for almost anyone, especially, well, just everyone. But we got dangerously close to what was almost a unionizing moment, where all of us kind of got together and we expressed our just emotions and thoughts on the management and what we want changed. And we came to a consensus, and we're thinking of putting together some demands, right? Which is kind of unheard of in China, and frankly, is asking for trouble in some cases, because, I mean, it's not legal, and especially as a foreigner, when you're only on a visa, and your employer can essentially revoke your employment at any time for any reason, because again, even though it's a quote-unquote communist country, there are no worker protections. It's dangerous, it's risky, and maybe a bit foolhardy. But we got there, and it was kind of crazy, actually, because, you know, I really respect my colleagues, and I totally agree with them, but their ideas, there he is again, their ideas of what they want, right, clash with Chinese society as a whole. Like, part of what they are looking for, which is just better working conditions and, you know, essentially, you know, like I was saying earlier, better curriculum and more guidance and more, you know, effective communication, just doesn't happen in China. It just doesn't happen, you know, and wanting it to happen is almost like, you know, a fantasy. because you are absolutely not going to have that happen. In China, it's boss says this, we do this. And you don't really question it, and you just kind of go along with it because you kind of sacrifice for the greater good in some ways. And you just don't really want to cause a mess. And people have just been conditioned to just kind of eat it for their whole life. Hell, even my kids, 3 and 4-year-olds, going on 5-year-olds, some of them are going home and doing homework. You know? So it's just conditioned. And so when they're coming in here and they're like, we want to make some demands and we want to do this and do that, it's kind of like, partially it's, yeah, I really want to do that, but we don't really have the rights. And not only do we not have rights, this could backfire to such a horrible extent that we all get fired. Now, if we all came together, it's unlikely that they would, but it's not impossible, and it's very possible that they keep us on for the time being while looking for new employees. And so, I don't know, I felt it was kind of risky, and I personally wasn't surprised by their total lack of communication and generally last-minute terrible ways of handling things. Because, again, as I've said, that's China, baby. But, I wish we could have done it, you know. We all have prepared ourselves with some like documents and keeping note of times and keeping note of grievances and things like this, checking our contracts and all that. And yeah, it was a bit of a crazy time and a rough week. And yeah, I'm not fully sure where to stand on it, you know? Because yeah, fuck yeah, workers' rights. Fuck, I mean, you know, I'm a big into that kind of shit. And I wish we had the right to do that. But you're kind of asking for trouble, and the way China in general works is you really only get trouble if you're asking for it. If you're not asking for trouble, you don't get trouble. And so it's easy to just keep your head down. And so while I have these two really, really excellent teachers as co-workers, there is another smaller group of co-workers who basically do the same thing. As I've just said, right? Keep their head down. Don't rock the boat too much. Get in, get out, do the job, go home, forget all about it. And I also kind of admire that approach as well. But really it comes down to what you value in the job and what you see out of it, right? Because the coworkers that do that, you have two that are leaving within a year, so they don't really have anything on the line, and they don't feel the need to put themselves out there when they know they're leaving anyway. They know these problems, very familiar with these problems. They've lived with these problems for years working at this place, and they've had enough, and they're leaving. Awesome, you know, good for them. Oh. And this other group, this other guy, or I should say group of people, they're just here to just get money and eventually go. Right? And so they also don't feel like it's worth the trouble of, they also don't think it's worth the trouble of asking for better conditions. Because they'll just deal with it, ignore what they want to ignore, because, again, you can just do that too, and earn their cash. I've got one who he married rich. His wife is comes from a rich family of influential people, and I'm fairly certain he just works there because he wants something to do and wants a little income and just wants kind of just a blow off, chill job, which the job can be if that's what you want it to be. But for my other two coworkers who kind of prompted this whole thing, for them it's another step in their career, right? So for them it's not, oh, I'm just gonna hang out and earn some easy money and whatever. For them it's, we moved here to learn more, to become better teachers, etc., etc. And yeah, and so they have a little more on the line. And I myself am kind of in between. I have a little bit on the line because it's my first official, like full-time teaching gig, and I really need it to be good on a resume, and I need to have good contacts in the future. But at the same time, there are a ton of schools I could go to that would take me in, and I could likely, with this experience, go after a different school, right, that would treat me decently well, and they would likely accept me because of my short time at this current place. But that's a lot of trouble for me, and when we're in this condition where we have this non-unified front, as lame as it is to say, it's not really in my interest to die on that hill, right? Those two very serious and amazing teachers are going to be leaving anyway. And they can, because they have certifications, and they are, frankly, excellent. They are crazy good at what they do. So they won't have trouble at all. But I'm not quite there yet, right? And I need to think about my future, which unfortunately means I might just gotta take it on the chin for a bit. And it sucks that it's come to this, it sucks that I'm in that position where I can't be a good coworker, I would rather be able to join them in their pursuit of better conditions. But I'm kind of put in the position to not do that. And that sucks. I wish I could. I wish I could do it. But, it is what it is. But, while talking to one of those excellent teachers, she needed to get a signature from one of our bosses, right? From one of her supervisors, in order to, I guess, verify her employment from a reputable and qualified employer for some program she's doing. I think it's another certification program. Well, as it turns out, when she went and asked for the signature, no admin, not a single admin in the entire school. I'm talking the principal. I'm talking the vice principals. I'm talking the straight up director of the school, as in like the owner and like main overseer. I'm talking, what other positions are there? Like, just anyone. Not a single one met the certification requirements for this signature. Now you think about that for a little bit. Not even for a little bit. Just think about that immediately. What's the first question that comes to mind? Our admin aren't certified educators. Our admin are not certified educators. Like, what? They are simply people who have been hired to work at a school in a leadership role. That's what they are. They are not qualified. They don't have degrees in the field. They don't have enough prior experience from a reputable school. They are simply our leaders. And so that got me thinking for a little bit. Oh, game over. That's alright. So anyway, that got me thinking for a little bit. We'll do sandbox mode. Do big with a bunch of flowers and some trees. Oh, we'll do canyons. That got me thinking for a bit, which, you know, so everything's just started kind of falling in place, right? So we have no unified curriculum. And any curriculum we have, literally our curriculum, quote unquote, is they chose a ESL brand like Oxford, chose a book for a whole semester, a book that's like maybe 30 pages in length, and said, yep, that's good. For this first month, we're going to do family. For the second month, we're going to do, what was the second month? We're going to do parts of our face. For the third month, we're going to do food. And it's quite shocking, no, that one whole month we're learning family members. One whole month. Like, excuse me? A whole month we're learning family members. It blows your mind. But all this stuff kind of just started falling into place, like I said. Oh, so they have no idea what they're doing, right? They have no clue what they're doing. And not only that, their communication is terrible. They don't communicate directly with us. They get one of our colleagues and use her as the intermediary for everything. And she not only has to be in a classroom and help teach and help support, she also has to act as their little message girl and take care of anything that they want her to. And so we have this management that's incompetent, doesn't understand education, can't communicate well, gets ideas from watching stuff on like TikTok. That whole speech contest I was talking about earlier came from watching something on TikTok and saying, that would be cool if we did that. And just trying to keep up, I guess you could say, keep up impressions, right? To look good for the parents. And that is, unfortunately, the school I work at. You know, which is pretty crappy because, I mean, that is just immediately obvious, right? Why that's crappy. You know, I kind of come into the job thinking, this is going to be cool. You know, I'm working for a competent school. I'm working with smart people. We're going to have a good curriculum. I'm going to learn a lot. I'll tell you this much. I'm learning a lot, but maybe not exactly what they want me to learn. And another lake. And so, yeah, that's just kind of the situation that I'm in, right? With this just crazy incompetent school. Which is so disappointing, right? We'll just put one of these here. And it's left me a little disillusioned. Because harking on what I was saying earlier, like, there's still the part of me that's like, these kids are awesome. And even the kids who, you know, I'm not a huge fan of, you know, I don't hate them, right? Even the kids that are pain in my rear, and sometimes I wish would just, you know, would act better and all this and all that. A lot of the time, you know, I still have like this, you know, this kind of love and care for them. I want them to succeed so badly. I want them to, like, a lot of the time it's like, my disappointment with their behavior isn't really because I don't like them. It's because they're getting in the way of themselves and their classmates learning when they could be so much better. And that's what's frustrating for me, is more so the distance between them shooting themselves in the foot and their potential. And that can be frustrating. And on top of that, it's incredibly frustrating when you have that going on, and you also have management that doesn't understand what you're doing on the daily. They say, oh, we want you to start implementing XYZ, without actually understanding that we're already in a space where implementing XYZ would be close to impossible with as much as they put on our plates. And yeah, time-wise would be near impossible, but just functionally would also be a pretty bad idea. But again, like I said earlier, you have this culture of just listen to boss and you just head down and do what they say, or you head down and don't do what they say, and in most cases they just kind of leave you alone. Because you don't really have a ton of people coming by to check, oh, are you actually doing this? Are you, you know, actually going to do story time on top of your other 3 classes a day that are already a struggle to get the kids focusing on, and you need to ensure the quality of those classes because of the end of the month assessments? You know, it's they just they don't understand the ins and outs of education. They don't understand what education is. They don't understand how it's supposed to work. They don't understand, you know, they don't understand what it is to be a teacher, because none of them are teachers. And none of them have any background in education. Not a single one. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's ultimately it. That's ultimately kind of what's going on at my school. And, you know, it might sound like I'm bitching a lot, but it is nice, right? In some ways, right? So for every time, you know, here's another one, the policy they implemented. So we used to go to the classrooms at 8:30, right? The kids start coming to school at 8, but it's not like they all come. They slowly trickle in. And typically around 8:30 is when you reach like a third of the kids have arrived. The rest come in between like 8:30 and 9. And so we used to go in at 8:30 because it was just more reasonable and there wasn't really a reason for us to be there before then. But the admin, we got a new vice principal, and I'm assuming she wanted to, I don't know, make a show or something. She didn't like that. She didn't really like that we show up late. So it was then told to us that we have to go in at 8:10, right? Not really a huge deal, but we did spend that morning, we did used to spend mornings preparing for class, doing like last minute things, right? Or saving that time to eat some breakfast and get ready for the day, because out of everyone that works there, we have the highest like class load. Our coworkers have to do different things, but we primarily are the masters of actually having class and actually teaching skills. And so we'd use that time to prepare. Well, not anymore. We have to be in at 8:10. But the thing is going in at 8:10 is ultimately, you know, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. And you can prepare in the classroom a little bit, but there isn't really a big point to it. Like, you're in there for an extra 10-15 minutes of conversation with multiple students. It doesn't have a huge impact on their education as a whole. And, you know, even on top of that, it might even take away some of their time. But, yeah, anyway, we kind of were against it for a few days and showed up like 5-10 minutes late. My coworker showed up 2 minutes late at 8:12. I showed up 8:14 one time, and we had management come down and talk to us for showing up late. 2 minutes, 4 minutes. Oh no, you guys can't do that. Blows the mind. Meanwhile, we're sitting here without any decent curriculum, without any good channels of communication, total misunderstanding, and in some cases disdain from the management towards us. But getting told off for showing up 2 minutes late to the classroom, mind you. We clock in on time. And so you have that total BS. But one part of the job that is nice is the pay is decent. And on top of that, we have a really long period in the middle of the day to work on prep. And I know I said, oh, sometimes we need the morning to work on prep. Yeah, sometimes we do, because sometimes we have big plans, and just the way we just don't have much access to resources, so we have to prepare like everything ourselves, you know, from finding the materials to printing them to laminating them to, you know, painting them or soldering them in some cases. One of my coworkers was doing that once. It's all us. And so a little bit of extra time is good, but we do have like 2 hours in the middle of the day when the kids are napping to work on that stuff. So that's nice. And frankly, the content isn't very difficult. The biggest issue is trying to spread out, trying to make interesting and spread out the incredibly limited content that I was talking about earlier. Like we don't have almost any content, and we somehow have to make this is my family interesting, compelling, fresh, and you know, for like 40 minutes every day for a month. You know, you tell me how to do that. So a lot of the time is us brainstorming, coming up with things together, preparing things to just get by. And so the time is desperately needed. But I kind of like this island. I'm satisfied with it. But we do have that time to kind of rest and relax. And even though, and here's the other thing, right, is that it's kind of sold as a good thing. It's kind of like sold when you get the job. Oh, hey, you get off at 4:30 and you never stay any extra hours. And I was like, yeah, when you, anywhere, you get off at 4:30, that means 4:30, right? Maybe like 4:35. Well, in China, if you go to somewhere, for example, and they say, oh, you have flexible hours. I think you can probably see where I'm going with this. Quote unquote, flexible hours means you have to come to work when we say you come to work, but you will leave work at basically a different time, at a later time than what is stated. That's usually what that means. And so that is a relative benefit that we have, right? Can you imagine? Oh, it's a benefit. What's the benefit? Oh, you actually get off work at time. like it's some kind of like just open, you know, secret, like, oh yeah, you know, in this country people don't get off work on time, even when it's stated that they should. But here you actually do. So that's pretty cool, huh? That's offset, but whatever. It's I don't know. It makes you laugh, but it is nice. And really, the job is just getting through the slog of the morning, trying to keep all these kids entertained and learning and in one piece. Because again, they're 3-year-olds, you know, 4-year-olds. They do all sorts of crazy stuff, making them feel heard, making them feel loved. Dealing with conflict resolution, dealing with other issues, dealing with criers, dealing with bully behavior, trying to teach them, and dealing with the complexities of that, teaching a foreign language to literal babies, and trying to do it in a way that is both relatable to them, fun for them, teaching them how to just live in society, you know, things like this. So it can be quite a bit of work, and but it's not the worst thing in the world, you know. It really isn't. Could it be better? Yes. Yes. You will not catching me say, no, it's pretty... No, it can be way better. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to work for, like, actually competent people that aren't beholden to parents, that aren't just focused on this, you know, this shallow, wow, my kid can say a few words, you know, and who are actually focused on learning and actually developing little human beings and, you know, unleashing their creative potential and all of this. It'd be nice if it was like that, but from what I've heard, you go almost anywhere around the world, that's not really done. And I think that in some cases it is probably the fault of the teachers, but at least in this very, very short experience, and in my sub experience, I noticed a lot, and I mean a lot, of education rests on the parents, and the way a school's run is so dependent on admin, like so ridiculously dependent, from whoever they choose to be their teacher, to what they give those teachers to work with, it's incredible. You know, the amount of influence that they have that is frankly largely unseen or ignored. I think people tend to just be like, no, it's all on the teacher. The teacher is the one who will give them everything they need, and it's up to the competency of the teacher. This is true to a certain extent, but it certainly is not everything. I'll tell you that much. It certainly is not. This is a... I don't really know how I feel about this island, but it's not the worst. So I guess that's just something to keep in mind, you know. In education, workplace politics seem inevitable, and I do my best to stay away from them. You know, except in the case of maybe work is uniting. But there's a lot going on behind the curtain that you might not know if you're you know, if you're a observer, or even if you're a student. There's this whole different world, and your feelings and thoughts as a student are also incredibly valid, obviously, because it's students are the center of education, and so we have to listen to students, obviously, right? But there's a lot of things going on that I think a lot of students don't know about and would maybe have a hard time understanding. In the same way that a lot of teachers get old, or they get disconnected from the culture of the place they're in and don't understand about their kids, and they fail their kids. You know, it's not one-sided. It's a collective effort, and I think that gets forgotten quite a bit, actually. But after placing the shaman, I think I'll just do a quick little run around of our ugly little island with all sorts of stuff, and look at that. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there for today. What's this? Oh no, that's fine. And yeah, I think we'll just leave it there for today, guys. If you're listening to my rants, do you have any thoughts on education? If you're an educator yourself, or a student, or anything like that, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'd love to just talk about it with you, because it's a pretty complex world out there, and we got all sorts of just strange and conflicting things going on all at once. It can be exhilarating, it can be exhausting, but that's life, right? So I find a bit of joy here, just talking to the microphone, just hanging out on my own, playing some Islanders. Why not? You know? Anyway, I'll stop yapping. I'll give your ears a break. So, I'll catch you next time, everyone. If you made it all the way through, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.